Hi, everyone. Welcome to our 2024 business planning for law firms. We're going to create our strategic plan today. It's start time, so people will still be coming in, but let's just get moving. So I'm going to share my screen. I do have a slideshow. We will go through different slides just so we can walk through what we're going to talk about today, the steps we're going to go through, and then I will show you the email when you registered for this event. I included a link for two different files. One is the template for today that we're going to fill out together that's going to become your strategic plan. And then the second one is a spreadsheet that it's an example that will help you, one, hopefully you already know your numbers, but if you don't, it'll shed some light on some key numbers, and they may not be the numbers that you track, that you have been tracking, or that you want to track, and that's okay. But just, it's more of an example that to put together your business plan, you do have to track to make sure your progress, that you are actually reaching your goals or not. And but the spreadsheet can give you an example of how simple it can be. I think you only enter maybe 6 or 7 different numbers, and once those are entered, it gives you some statistics, some data about your business. So let's just get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So welcome to today. I'm excited that you're here. Sorry, I just had to get a little organized here with I have 3 screens. Okay. So, so by the end of our hour together, we're going to end up having a good, if not finished, if it's not finished, it will be a big chunk of your 2024 plan already done, to help guide you through the next 12 months. And so let's move forward here. So I'm Kelly Brubaker. I'm your host today. I am a CPA. I specialize in working with law firms. It's something that I didn't pursue. I didn't not pursue it, but I opened a CPA firm in 2005. And at that point, I did all the things wrong. I will tell you, I've talked about it in my podcast and in some of my blog posts, but I pretty much took anybody. So if you had a heartbeat and you were willing to pay me money, whatever work you needed done, I did it. So bad approach, don't advise it. But within the first couple of years, I had one attorney find me, took them on, started working with them, and then another attorney, and then that attorney referred me to another attorney. And before you know it, like a little grassroots effort thing took off. And at one point, I didn't purposely do anything to grow that segment of my business. But then at one point, I want to, like 80 or 90% of my clients were law firms. So it kind of found me, and I'm more than happy, because at one point before I decided to be a CPA, I was either going to be a vet, but I had a hard time with biology classes. And then law was in the mix as well, in the running. So I ended up with CPA because I'm just really good with numbers, and it is what it is. But I am a CPA. I have owned a firm since 2005. So while I started in Big Four and I was an auditor, I left there, went into banking, worked, I was CFO of a small publicly traded bank for a while. And then I went to a big bank, top 100 in the US bank, and worked in corporate. It is what it is. And decided that really my roots are working with small businesses. So that's where I am today. And that's where I've been for the last 18 years. So this is December 2023, and November of 23 was 18 full years that I have been on my own, supporting small businesses. So when I say I've been there, done that, I have been there and I've done that. So, but we're not here to talk about me. let's get going. So our agenda for today. So first, we want to understand the importance of strategic planning. So I'm going to introduce the significance of strategic planning for law firms, and then just kind of go through, how do you use that information? And there are multiple ways that you can come up with a strategic plan, and there's no right or wrong. It's whatever way feels best for you personally, and there's pros and cons to every approach. My current approach is to use SMART goals, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then once we get through that, we will actually work, it'll be a working session, and we will work through crafting your 2024 strategic plan. And then we'll wrap up with implementation and monitoring, because it's not enough to just sit down in December and type up what we want our plan to look like for 2024. Oh, excuse me. We actually have to set the ball rolling, put it in motion for next year, and monitor. And in all honesty, there's even one more step. It's updating it over time, because either you crushed a goal, kicked a field goal, hit a grand slam, totally crushed a goal, and that opens you up to being able to set a new goal for 2024, or a goal was so ambitious or something changed. I mean, the pandemic, I was trying to not say that word, but 2020 blew up the world, right? So, if something happens that's completely beyond your control, it might not be worth pursuing the same goals as you sit here today and create your goals for 24. Something may happen that may not make it worthwhile putting effort towards pursuing one of your goals. And at that point, just acknowledge it is what it is, and you have better information in the future that you didn't have today, and you just create a new goal. It's no big deal. So, but that's the agenda for today. So step one is the importance of a strategic plan. The idea of a strategic plan, it's not just to come up with the plan, but it's getting it documented. And I don't care if that means a piece of paper with a pen, if it's pen and paper, a spiral bound notebook, if it's, a piece of paper you took out of the printer, or if it's a whiteboard, or, some type of a document on your computer, Evernote, OneNote, whatever, I don't care. It's not a question of how you get it documented. It's more of a requirement that you document it, because it becomes a reference point. Because again, today you're making plans based on what you know today. So let's get that documented into, somehow, however you're going to document that. And then it helps you with accountability down the end of the road as we move along. And what gets measured gets managed. So it's not enough to just think about what you want to do in 2024. It's getting it written, getting it put down on a piece of paper, and then measure it. Because when you measure it, then you're going to work on it, and then you'll accomplish your goals. And getting it documented will also help you put it together in a way that you can share with your staff. Now, by no means am I saying what we work on today is exactly what you're going to share with staff. I have worked with companies of all sizes and of all, I guess, tolerance might be the right word. I've worked with some businesses that were extremely forthcoming, like literally open book with their numbers, all numbers to all staff. Everybody knew everything. I've worked with those clients. I've worked with on the other extreme where the owner is the only person who knows any numbers. Nothing else is known. And I've worked with everybody in between, where some information is shared with staff. And personally, I'm in the middle of the road. So I set goals, and then I share with staff the information they need to know. There's just some things that they don't need to know, in my opinion, and that's what works for me. So whatever works for you, works for you. I'm not here to tell you it's right or wrong. Whatever works for you is the right thing. But I do suggest that if there's any way that you can take what we work on today and share it with your staff to the extent that they can impact those goals, it will help them feel included and worthy, and like it gives their job purpose. It becomes something bigger, and then it makes it easier for you to accomplish your goals because then they understand better. So that'll be part of why we're going to get this documented. So I mentioned the SMART approach. No, SMART is an acronym, and it means specific, which means it's clearly defining the goal. There's no ambiguity. Measurable, establish criteria for tracking progress and determining your success. Achievable, ensure that the goal is realistic given your available resources. So for example, if you're at 200,000 in revenue and you want to go to 2 million, awesome, love it. I'm never going to tell somebody that that's not achievable, because it absolutely is. If you believe it, you can do it. But I want to make sure that you're realistic, that the resources you have today to get to 200,000, you need different resources to get you to 2 million. Okay. And all the time, the answer is not always adding more people. Sometimes it's doing things more efficiently. Okay. So there's more than one way to reach the goal. But my point here is just achievable is make sure that you acknowledge that you can access or acquire the resources you need to be able to reach the goals. Relevant, so align the goal with your broader objectives and current circumstances. And then time bound, so set a time frame for when you're going to achieve your goals. So sorry, I had a beep on my computer and I got sidetracked. Okay, so let's just break down so I can give you examples of SMART goals. Now, each goal that I give you on the next few slides are not complete SMART goals, but just enough of a goal to be able to highlight the point of what that specific or what that item is. I didn't want to use the same word twice, multiple times. So we start with specific, okay? So here's the two questions. So when you're setting SMART goals, so we're going to start with specific. So ask yourself two questions. What specific accomplishments or improvements do you want to achieve in 2024? And then the second question would be, can you clarify, or can you clearly define the target market, the service, and the desired outcome? Okay, you need to be able to answer those two questions. So here's an example goal that's specific. Increase gross revenue by 20%. So how would you do that? You would do it by focusing on increasing new clients through targeted digital marketing campaigns. Now, the how part, there's no right answer to that. And there's no one way to do that. I'm just trying to give you an example. So for example, if your goal were to increase gross revenue by 20%, one way to do that could be through targeted digital marketing campaigns. Okay, the second part of the SMART goals are measurable. The two questions you need to ask yourself are, how will you measure success and progress towards your goal? And then what key performance indicators, KPIs, or also they're called metrics, are relevant to your objectives? Okay, so here's an example of a measurable goal. Your goal could be enhance client satisfaction. How would you measure that? You could measure it by achieving a minimum of 90% client satisfaction rating based on post-close surveys. Okay, just an example, something to think about. So is your goal achievable? Here's two questions to ask yourself. Are your goals realistic given your resources and constraints? And then what steps or resources are necessary to reach each goal? Okay, so here's an example. Say you want to increase billable fees by 20%. Okay, how could you do that? And it's a multi-pronged answer. You could increase rates by a reasonable amount, say 2 to 5%. You could increase accuracy of time tracking, which would increase your amount of billable time. Or you could check in with inactive clients at least once a quarter to inquire about any new possible cases that you could work with them. Okay. And you could do like these, I'm just rattling off possible solutions. You could do one of these, two of these, three of these, or none of these and do something completely different. So just an example. And then relevant. So is your goal relevant? Here's two questions to ask yourself. How do your goals align with your overall mission and vision? And are these goals relevant to the current market and industry trends? So here's an example for relevant goals. Say you want to launch a new service. So what would be relevant? Well, say you start a subscription service for X dollars a month, realistically, like a couple $100s a month, where the subscriber would receive a cursory review and response to a set number of issues each month without an hourly charge. Okay. So say a client pays you $500 a month on a subscription. So just if they paid that month, then for the next 30 days after their payment, they have access that maybe you review 2 different legal potential issues, give them an initial response, and then as part of that, you could quote them and say, okay, this contract, there was a breach of contract, and you can do A, B, or C to resolve it. But you stop at that point. That subscription only covers the response, okay, the initial response to that. And then you can say, if you would like to pursue option A, it would be an estimate of X number of hours at this billable rate, or I can do it for a flat fee. If you'd like to do option 2, it would be this. So the subscription is just that you spend more than 2 minutes typing an email response. This subscription, you would actually put thought into the response, so they get value out of it, so that they can continue. Okay, but that's just an example of a relevant goal. And then the last part of SMART goals is time bound. So here's the 2 questions. What is the time frame to achieve the goal? And are there specific milestones or deadlines for different stages of your plan? Okay, and here's an example. A goal could be improve employee training. So for all staff, not just the required CLE each year. And then the timeline for this is how you would say it. Implement a comprehensive training program by Q2 and measure its impact on employee performance by the end of the year. So by the end of the year, were employees presenting better work product, and or were they doing it more efficiently? That's how you would measure that. So those were some examples of some SMART goals, or I should say small pieces of SMART goals. So let's dig in to the third part of our agenda. And this is really the heart of what we're here today working on. So we're going to craft your 2024 strategic plan. I think I named it business plan. Strategic plan and business plan are the same thing. But first we need to start with a vision and a mission for the firm. And I don't know if you have these or not. And if you don't, that's fine, because we're going to take a couple minutes to prepare them. If you do have a vision statement and a mission statement, this would be an opportunity to open it up, read it. Is it still relevant? Or does it need to be revised? Okay. So you want to make sure that your vision or your mission clearly articulate what your goals are. These are going to be the foundation for your SMART goals. Okay. So we're going to start with our vision statement. And a vision statement is a concise statement describing the long-term aspirations and desired future state of the business. And here's an example that I'll read to you. So at insert law firm name here, we envision a legal landscape where justice is accessible to all. We strive to be recognized as a premier legal institution, known for our unwavering commitment to upholding the principles of fairness, integrity, and excellence. Our vision is to lead positive change in the legal realm, fostering a society where every individual's rights are protected and legal solutions empower communities. Now, again, I don't mean for this to be your vision statement. I know for me personally, if I am looking at a blank piece of paper, my mind's blank and I have a hard time getting started. So I just wanted, as I prepared for today, I just wanted to be able to give you an example of what to look for. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to I'm going to set the clock for 2 minutes, and um, and we're going to get this documented. Oh, one thing that I do want to share is in the email when you register for this class, or the reminder email, I included a link to be able to download a template to be able to document this stuff. You don't have to use this template. You can just use a blank piece of paper and write down the information as we go, or you could open up a blank document on your computer and start typing as we go. Or you can print this out and handwrite it. So, and it's a Word file. So if you do download it and open it, you should be able to type right into it if that's what you would like to do. So I will put the slide back up for the example vision statement, and then let's do 2 minutes working on documenting your vision statement. We've got about 30 seconds. Okay, so hopefully that was enough time. I do intend this to be a working workshop, or a working session, but we also need to make sure that we keep on track. Um, so let's move on to our mission statement. Okay, slightly different than our vision statement. So our mission statement is a brief description of the purpose, values, and fundamental objectives of the business. And again, I have an example that you may love, you may hate. So take it for what it's worth. It's just an example. So I'm going to read this to you. At insert law name here, our mission is to provide exceptional legal services with the highest standards of professionalism and ethical conduct. We are dedicated to delivering tailored, innovative solutions to our clients' legal challenges, ensuring their rights are safeguarded and their objectives achieved. Through relentless advocacy, continuous learning, and community engagement, we aim to make a meaningful impact on the lives we touch and contribute to the broader pursuit of justice and equality. So if you love it, great. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine too. If there's edits that need to be made that make it work for you, perfect. But let's go ahead and spend 2 minutes putting together a mission statement for our business. So let's get going. Okay, we've got about 30 seconds left. Okay, how do we feel about our mission statement? Hopefully that was enough time to work on that. If not, you can always go back and expand upon this. So now thinking of your vision and your mission statement, what would be the key areas of focus? Now, here's the thing. Off the top of my head, for my firm, I could probably come up with 10 different things, but 10, quantity is not good. Quality is better. I recommend whenever I work through this with clients, 3 goals max, because once you get beyond 3, it's harder to concentrate on and do well with any of it. So I'm going to work to narrow my list of 10 down to 3, but come up with at least one area of focus, something to focus on for 2024, and but at maximum 3 things. Okay. And you have a spot on your sheet to be able to write these down. But determine key objectives that are crucial for the success of your firm in 2024. Okay. A couple examples could be fees, client satisfaction, market expansion. Okay. So let's take 2 minutes to work on this. We have about 30 seconds left on this one. Okay. So now that we have our vision and our mission statement, we have our key areas of focus. Now we are getting to the heart of why we're here today, is to define your SMART goals. Now, just how I had said before with the key areas, I don't really encourage going beyond 3 areas of focus. Same thing with SMART goals. So, and here's the thing with your 2024 business plan. Yes, we're going to try to plan ahead for the next 12 months, but things change. It is not written in stone. So, I would encourage you for each of the key areas of focus that we just wrote down, and I got to 3, each one should have one SMART goal. And so to just remind everybody here what's going on with our SMART goals. So they're specific, they're measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Okay. And I will leave this up while we work on our goals. But here are some examples of SMART goals. So the this is the first example. SMART goal: increase client satisfaction in 2024, achieve a client satisfaction rating of 90% or above based on post-service surveys, implement client feedback mechanisms, streamline communication channels, and provide additional training to staff. It is relevant because it aligns with the firm's commitment to client-centric service and can enhance client retention, attain the target satisfaction rating by the end of the third quarter of 2024. Okay, I won't read through the other two goals, but I will leave these on the screen. And then for this one, let's take 5 minutes because these are harder. It gets harder as we go along. So let's take 5 minutes and create one SMART goal for each of the key areas of focus that you defined in the last step. We have about 2 minutes left. 30 seconds. Okay, so time. So how did that feel? I know that I was able to come up with one thing, one SMART goal for each of my 3 areas of focus. And I'm feeling pretty good about it. So hopefully that you are too. So one thing, and this is the last step to wrap up, but one thing that I wanted to show, and I mentioned this at the beginning, and this was included in the email that was sent out the couple minutes before we started, the reminder that had the link to get into this work session. So I call this a dashboard. Call it whatever you want. It's a simple spreadsheet, and if you print it, it prints into a one page. The idea being that these are key statistics, and these numbers are fake. They're not for a real client. I randomly just typed in some numbers, but I wanted to give you an idea. These are a handful of like key data and then what it tells us for a law firm. And it doesn't need to be complicated. That I think that's my overall goal with this, is sharing this with you, is that it doesn't need to be crazy complicated. Simple is good. But the information is important because it will tell you things about your firm. I hope you know your numbers, but maybe sometimes looking at things a different way shares a little bit more insight into your firm. And that's kind of my hope with this. So of this whole spreadsheet, and I'll just scroll down. So look, there's all these numbers, but of everything on here, they're all formulas except what I just highlighted in yellow. So the items in yellow, and the first are easy. So column B is, well, actually it's easier to start with column C. So column C is the information for the last 12 months. And I'm an accountant, so I usually do things with a month end date. So for me, I just picked November 30th of 2023 because this is December 15th of 23. And because I picked November 30th of 23, 12 months before that was November 30th of 22. So the end date, start with the end date. It could be December 15th. It doesn't matter. Don't dread on this point. Pick a date that's easy for you to get information for, and then whatever 1 year prior to that, and then fill in this information. So let's just run through this. So let's just pretend we're a firm that we have, if we look at our number of active clients, last year we had 100. This year we had 175. So that's an increase of 75, which is also an increase of 75%. Good for us. Number of active cases, because that's important too. So let's pretend that we have 185 active cases last year. This year, 250. So that's an increase of 65 number of cases, which is a percent increase of 35. For all of this work that we do, the 12 months ended, which would be December 1st of 21 through November 30th of 22. Let's just say we billed $350,000 of revenue for this, for our 100 clients and 85 cases. For the last 12 months ended November 30th of 23, let's just assume that we billed $550,000. So we increased $200,000 of revenue, which was 57% increase. Now, something I want to point out is that I do have these color coded. So columns D and E. D is a number increase or decrease, and column E is the percentage increase or decrease. Red and green colors, which I didn't think about, so I hope you're not colorblind and that you actually see the red and green. Green is good. Well, no, I don't even want to say it that way. Green is an increase and red is a decrease. I don't necessarily want to say they're good and bad. I will just say, as a numbers person myself, one number with two data points, it tells you information, but it does not tell a whole story. So again, red is decrease, green is increase. Don't take that as a hard and fast good and bad. Okay. You look at the big picture, the total picture, to determine if your firm's moving in the right direction or not. Okay. And again, this isn't for a firm that doesn't exist. I completely randomly typed in numbers. Okay. So I don't even know what the story tells us at this point. So of what we build, let's just assume that for the 12 months ended last year, we collected $325,000, and this year $475,000. So we're doing good, because you know what you bill, you don't always collect right away. Hopefully you eventually collect it, but it's rare to bill and collect 100% in real time. And then let's shift gears a little bit. And something that I'm not sure a lot of people track, but most likely should, number of leads that you captured for the last 12 months. So and however you define lead, okay? I have some clients who track leads based on phone calls, emails, website inquiries. Some also include followers on specific social media, okay? So however you want to define leads, or if you want to split the hair and define leads and prospects as something different too, completely up to you. I'm just, again, trying to show you an example of a dashboard tracking statistics. These statistics would feed into your SMART goals, okay? So leads captured for the last 12 months, let's just assume it's 225 for the year before, 550 this year. And from these leads, last year we converted 50 of them into clients. This year we only converted 45. And then this is an easy one. Hopefully you can do this, count on the fingers, or off the top of your head. How many billable staff did you have last year and this year? And then what is your goal for next year? So if we're doing, we're looking at 22 versus 23. So for 2024, what do you want your top line gross revenue to be? And I threw in $1 million, because why not? So that was all the information that needed to be input into here. So you don't have to make a dashboard to be very complicated. It can be, a handful of numbers, and it doesn't even need to be a spreadsheet. Depending on your case management system, it might track some of this for you, if not all of it. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And if you have some type of a system, if your CRM system keeps track of this for you, or if your billing system keeps track of this for you, it's easier to have a system compile the information, because it just does it all the time in real time, as opposed to if you do a spreadsheet, somebody has to keep up with it. Oh, which is a good point, because I forgot to mention this. So I noted this on the template, but I forgot to mention it in the slides, which is why I forgot to talk about it. When you do your SMART goal, it is important. Oh, and then I didn't even do that right. So yes, I did copy and paste. So when you have your SMART goal, you need to define your SMART goal, but also determine who will be tracking the measurement of that goal, the progress towards that goal. It doesn't need to be you. Depending on the goal, if it's leads and your receptionist keeps some type of a log, then have your receptionist track that goal and report back to you, which then feeds into my next part, is define how often you are going to review the SMART goal. So it could be daily, weekly, monthly. I usually recommend don't going longer than a month. If you need to go quarterly, okay, but the longer you go, the harder it is to react and correct the course. So make sure that when you do your goal, who's going to track it and how often are you going to review it? Okay, I just wanted to get that out there. So And actually also how is it going to be tracked? So how are you going to use a spreadsheet, pen and paper, your CRM, figure out how you're going to do that. Okay. But here's what entering these couple of numbers are going to tell us about this firm. So average number of cases per client. And this is important because it'll help us with staffing, and it'll also help us with, in total, how many clients are we going to need to hit $1 million? Okay. This will help us. It'll feed into it. And again, one number doesn't help us. And one metric with 2 data points doesn't help us. But when you start to add all of these up, then it starts to mean something. So based on the information we entered above, the average revenue billed per client, we've got our stats there. And then this same number, but divided by week, by month, by quarter, because now that helps us to take our big SMART goal and break it down. Okay. And then, because we tracked the number of clients and the number of cases, then I also looked at the average revenue billed per case, because that's important too. And then broke that number down by week, by month, by quarter. And because our clients don't always pay what we bill them or in a very timely manner, I looked at average revenue collected per client on for the year, and then week, month, and quarter. Per client and per case. So that gives us some good information. And the reason why this is important, because now we know right here that each client in 2023 was worth $2,700 for the year in revenue. Okay. So that helps us to quantify, if I want to hit $1 million, it now tells me how many more clients I need to be able to get to that, to reach that target. Okay, paid realization. Now, realization is a key number in many different fields of professional service industries. It's a KPI in, CPA and accounting firms, and in legal firms, law firms. But there are different types of realization. Okay, so make sure when somebody says, "What's your realization?" What exactly what realization are you trying to get to? So here I'm looking at paid realization, meaning I billed X, clients paid Y. So of the amount I billed, how much did I collect? And so that's paid realization. Last year it was 93%. This year it's 86%. So that's something to look into. Why did it go down? I still think 86 is decent, but the closer you can get to 100 is always better. So I would look into why it went down, and it could just be timing. It could literally be that, a bill was sent on November 30th of 22, and we had a retainer sitting in the IOLTA account that we were able to apply same day. Okay. But didn't have that same thing. We issued bills on November 30th of 23, but minimal amounts held in trust. Okay. There's completely valid reason. There could be. There's going to be a reason, but let's make sure that it's a valid reason, that something that we can tolerate, that we can live with in our firm. And then flipping into the lead part that's going to flow into clients. So last year it looked like we were getting 4 1/3 leads per week. This year we were up almost 11 leads per week, and then how that worked out to monthly and quarterly. And again, these are all averages, very simple averages. I didn't literally go into each week because it's fake, but just on average. And the reason why this is important is because this helps as we start to look into 2024. When we get into January, we can say, oh, in January, how many leads did we have? Oh, we had 32. And then we look here and we say, oh, 32, that's low. What happened? We need to step up our game a little bit. How can we increase that number so that we can hit our targets? Okay. And then last year, based on all these leads, how did that look like for clients? What leads converted into clients? And so on a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis, these two numbers, when I look at these together, so of how many clients resulted from all the leads, that becomes our close rate. So in 22, we were at 22%. In 23, we're at 8%. That's something I'd look into. Typically, I think what I've heard on average for just professional service firms is that you close about 30% of your leads, okay? Or 30% of your leads eventually become clients. Again, this could be a timing issue. It could be that you saw a lot of leads, you put proposals out, and clients have just not made up their minds. Whatever their issue, their legal issue is, doesn't have immediate urgency to it. They have some time, so they're out looking around. I don't know what the answer is, but it's something I would look into. And then I mentioned presenting your strategic plan to your staff. Okay, here's how I would start to do that. I don't necessarily want to give the staff my entire strategic plan, but how can I make it relevant to them? And so that's where we can start going and doing stats by billable staff. You could tell your staff, you could say for your billable staff, okay, if you had a billable goal, if you want to hit revenue of $1 million, that means every billable staff has to hit a certain target, okay? So you can at least know where they've been and what that got you, and you can convert that into what does it need to be to reach your goal for this year. So when I'm talking about sharing your strategic plan with staff, I'm talking about breaking it down for them so that they know, hey, when you hit this billable goal in dollars, or when you bill 10,000 each month, you need to collect 10,000 each month, but you need to realistically collect 9,000 each month, and then follow up on the 1,000 that's unpaid. Okay, I mean, we're not going to bill it and let it go, but set some standards. Okay, and then firm target. So this is all going to translate into firm targets. So this part and going up is actual firm performance, what actually happened, because I'm a firm believer in you need a roadmap. You need to know where you started, and then you need to know your destination. And then that's how you can calculate your map to get from where you are today to where you want to go. So we needed to know where we were, because then we know that's possible. And then the firm targets. So based on, we had a target of $1 million revenue goal for the year, but we know what we bill, we don't collect 100% right away. So based on that paid realization rate, we actually need to bill 1.15 in revenue to be able to get $1 million paid in the door for next year. And then that breaks down to $290,000 per quarter, almost $97,000 per month, $22,000 per week. Because this is what you're going to feed into your SMART goal. You're going to track and make sure if this is one of your SMART goals to hit $1 million in revenue. So again, you'd have to change this spreadsheet. I wouldn't advise changing the spreadsheet. I would just use it as an example and start a brand new one if your goals do not use these same numbers. Okay, it'll be hard to change these and get the formulas to all be relevant. So again, just an example, but something to work with. And then if you had a goal to hit $1 million, okay, if you were going to hit $1 million, assuming that your clients are not repeating, recurring clients, then how many new leads would you need? So based on our most current year of information, we would need 4,500 leads for the year, because based on our close rate, that turns into 368 clients. And we already know each client was worth what, like $2,700. Okay. So this whole section down here is saying, based on our performance for this last 12 months, to hit $1 million, this is what we need to do. And this is how it breaks down for the year, per quarter, per month, and per week. Then I start to show to staff, okay, you need to bill $231,000 this year, which is this much per quarter, per month, and per week, to give them targets to reach. Okay. And then one thing that I want to note on here is that, okay, these are simple averages and projections. You will not, no business is linear. You don't start here and go here in a straight line. It's all up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay. Um, so these numbers are simple formulas that just assume constant progress. Um, that's why you have to look at things on a per weekly basis, per month, and then like year to date, okay, and per quarter, to make sure, because you're going to have some weeks where you're above and some weeks you're below, and then some months you're above and some months you're below. You need to make sure that, though, that year to date you're progressing towards closer to your goal, okay. And then this is how I would break it down to staff. So so hopefully that makes sense. I just wanted to give that, overview. Again, it was a handful of numbers that you enter into a spreadsheet and it pops out all those calculations. So if you determine you have your SMART goals, you figure out how you're going to measure them and who's going to measure them. If you don't have some type of software that's already going to track that for you, have somebody to put together a simple spreadsheet where you can enter the information and it pops out some statistics. The next thing you have to do, now I did that as a one-time for a year, look at the year. Depending on what you're tracking, you might need to do a different spreadsheet because you might need to log information every day and then have formulas that will add up and average for the time year to date. I don't know. So again, take it for what it's worth. Just an example of something that you might be able to use in your business. So just as we wrap up, we only have a couple minutes left. So the key takeaways here is, now that you put together, your vision statement, your mission statement, you identified your key areas of focus and your SMART goals, we need to implement them and then monitor. So communicate to your staff. So make sure that you outline the goals, what information you're comfortable sharing with everyone in your firm, and ensure that they understand their goals and their role in achieving them. Consider breaking down the goals by employee or by billable staff or area of practice. Okay. However it's applicable, whatever makes most sense. And then establish how often and how it's going to be communicated to staff, the progress. So I think we've all seen, nonprofits will have a goal. We want to raise, $500,000 this year. And then they have the little thermometer and then it, the red, and it gets, as more money comes in, they fill it in. Okay, that's the idea. The idea is to get people excited because the progress, as you fill in the thermometer with money coming in, donations being received, it's giving people tangible feedback that their efforts to collect donations are working. Same idea for your staff. Set the goal, set the SMART goal, share it with your staff, and then show them the progress. How are we doing? And then one thing that I do is I suggest, if it's possible, consider linking key goals to bonuses for staff. But there's a caveat, only to the extent that an employee can directly contribute to that goal. So, it doesn't make sense to hold somebody accountable for a goal they have absolutely no impact to. Okay, I just want to throw that out there. And then make sure that you're sharing your progress and updates with your current stats versus the goal with your staff on a regular basis. So that is our 1 hour together today. And I hope that you have a good, solid plan for reaching your goals in 2024. I will email out the slides, the recording of this session, and I will make sure that the template, the Word doc for the template and the spreadsheet that's the dashboard, I will share all of that as soon as the recording's available in a couple of hours. So if you have any questions, please feel free, connect with me on LinkedIn. Or if you either scan the QR code, it'll take you right to my link in bio, or you can just click in the slides, it's an active hyperlink, and you can contact me through my the contact information on the LinkedIn bio. So hopefully you have a wonderful Friday afternoon and a wonderful weekend. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.